Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for joining the MosaicArt Tale of Tiles webinar today. My name is Ruby and I am one of the founder of MosaicArt. For some of you who is still probably not familiar with what MosaicArt is, well, as you can see behind me my background, MosaicArt is a 3D cladding made of concrete. Therefore, our product is applicable for both interior and exterior area. As we know that human has been decorating walls ever since prehistoric time. They paint their walls, they draw walls, and they even carve their walls to make a beautiful 3D relief. Mosaic art is very inspired by that. That's why one of our desire is to be able to produce high premium quality of wall cover product that is more than just normal wall claddings, but more into like an artwork cladding. That's why every single piece of tiles of mosaic art is produced based on creativity and design. And this year we are launching our signature collection, and we are so happy and so proud to be able to collaborate with Indonesia well-known architects and designers. Mosaic Art Tale of Tiles webinar is a series of webinars where Mosaic Art, as the host, is going to invite distinguished speakers that going to share some insights about the trending topics that happen in the interior and architectural industry. The webinar itself is going to last for 40 minutes. And at the end of the session, there will be a Q&A section. If you have any questions, you can just directly click on the Q&A box. And we're going to respond to your question at the end of the session. Please make sure that you click on the Q&A box and not on the chat box. Well, ever since the uproaring COVID-19 pandemic strikes the whole world, everybody has to stay at home. It is not an easy situation for everyone. And even for many people, it is also very challenging to be able to adapt with this new working habit, working from home. I can imagine that in the normal day, we really have to go to office in the morning and meet a lot of people, and then suddenly, boom, we all have to stay at home. As it is for me, in the beginning, I found it really, really hard to be able to focus on my work while I'm staying at home. But not until I met Alvin, and then he shared to me some of his tips on how to create a working ambience in my house. So I would like I'm working in the office even though I was at home. And now I managed to have my own working station and it's really helpful. And that was the initial idea why we decided to bring up these topics to this webinar, because we believe that it might be better for you too. Alvin Tjitrowirjo is a product designer, has built a solid and respectable career over the last decade. He has distinguished himself from the rest by remaining truthful toward his unique artistic passion and his love towards a bachelor degree in industrial design from RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia, and a master's in product design from Instituto Europeo de Design Madrid, Spain, and followed by an internship at celebrated international designer Marcel Wander's studio in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Alvin formulated a distinctive approach in redefining what contemporary Indonesian design can do. His furniture brand, AlvinT, has been exhibited in international shows such as Milan Design Week, Maison LOJ Paris, NYC Design Week, Tokyo Design Art, Stockholm Furniture Fair, as well as group shows of Museum Triennale in Milan, Archie Depot Museum in Tokyo, and other events. Based in Jakarta, This design studio, AlvinT Studio, delivering the services such as product design, interior design, and art direction. And so, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Alvin Tjitrowirjo from AlvinT Studio. Okay, Alvin, it's time for you to say.
Thank you, Ruby. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everyone is healthy and happy. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about how to stay productive, and then some insights about the design industry. And of course, one of the biggest topics in the recent month is basically the challenges as well as the benefits of working from home. So as you all know, we've been under a quite of a dramatic changes that's happening in the world today, and this has plays a very big impact towards not just business and economics, but also like how we work today. So I'm sure, and I'm very well aware that the general atmosphere has been very quite negative. People are getting a bit worried. People are getting a bit stressed. So what I want to talk about today is actually some of the benefits from the major changes that we have been experiencing in the past month. So, so it's always good, basically, to see things from a positive perspective, I suppose. One of the major things that I can actually benefit from working from home is actually that I don't have any commuting time. Jakarta is notorious for its traffic, and now in the past month, I feel like I've unlocked around 2.5 to 3 hours of productive time per day just by not commuting. So I realized that this also leads to increase of productivity, because imagine if we have 8 to 9 hours of working time and at least, let's say, 2 hours you spend in traffic. Now you can actually claim back those 2 hours and turn it into things that you can produce, basically. Another benefit from this major change is actually the acceleration in using technology. Indonesians, in general, we've been considered quite savvy in using technology or adapting to technology, but we haven't been really fully utilizing the available technology. We still, let's say, use the very mainstream types of technologies that we have today, but now we are forced to use, let's say, virtual meetings, video calls. People start to pick up applications that they can use for project managements, even to basically monitor productivity of our teams, etc., etc. This leads us, or me in my studio in particular, to learn on how to work more efficiently and more effectively. And this also leads us, or most businesses, to switch on our survival mode. Now this really, let's say, readjust our mindsets on our way of thinking on how to make sure that our core strength is protected, let's say, and to be able to really think through and to properly strategize when economy starts to bounce back. And what I like the most, actually, by, let's say, the world is slowing down a little bit, it allows us more time for self-introspection, which I will talk in the next slides. So one of the biggest, I think one of the biggest changes that will happen in the near future is how people value things quite differently. I think there is basically an adjustment in how people will value their consumption. I think people will be more careful, when spending their money, when investing on things. They will have a feeling that basically people will start to look more towards quality rather than quantity. There's also a trend that business and brands will try to create a sense of security, because as you all know, this virus is not just let's say a medical interference, but it's also economical. So this sense of security in terms of health as well as financial is very important. And so I think people will definitely readjust their perspective towards this. I think there will be a growing demand towards products and experiences that are more meaningful. We have seen a lot of overconsumption in a way in the past that has give a lot of impacts towards our environment, our social surroundings. And I think, or I hope, after this, people will start to seek products or experiences or objects that are more meaningful. I think it's also very important to have to value products and objects that has a strong cultural context. I think this pandemic is shared by the whole world globally, but at the same time, it makes people to create a stronger bonds within themselves. So, what I really like to see also is that people are now starting to help out other people just for the sake of humanity. And I think this is a very powerful value that might not happen if the world just runs normally. And then of course, home has been a very important subject, because we have spent the past 30 days, 28 days or something at our homes, and now we can start to appreciate how quality in a home actually means for people. So these are some of my personal observation towards what do we need to anticipate in the future. I think anxiety and fear is the main driver of the trends. I have seen this in many publications as this type of pandemic, let's say, it has left a lot of people and countries unprepared, and businesses as well. And with the growing generation of the millennials and the younger generations as well, added by the use of social media, this has created let's say a circle of anxiety, basically, that is basically shared by the future generation. So this also leads to people to desire a sense of security. People want to feel secure, not just financially, but also emotionally. So there is a lot of brands and products that want to promote a sense of calm, a sense of security, and there are also other possible changes that we also need to consider. The time that I have in the past month, the extra time that I have in the past month, me and my team, and a couple of friends, we always like to discuss what other possible changes that can actually happen to the industry or the businesses. How does future coffee shops will actually look like? Will they allow more space, or rather cram the space, as we always know? Or what are the future of manufacturing in the future? Will they invest more in machineries rather than intensify their labor, or do they will teach their labor to be more skilled and to be more specialized? These are like a lot of possibilities and things that we need to anticipate in the near future. So being at home, I think that also gives me a lot of time to be more self-aware and to be more mindful. There's this sense of how I embrace idleness. I think the world has been moving so fast, and sometimes it moves too fast than how we can actually cope, basically. And this also allows a lot of things happen prematurely. And I think that this time that we have, I think, is basically a good opportunity for all of us, not just me, basically, to really think of what sort of impact I want to bring to the society, or what sort of types of values that I want to bring to the market, let's say, or even how to appreciate other things that otherwise I would have basically missed, because there's so many things that I need to do. There's a lot of things that I need to learn as well in order how to become more efficient and to be more effective while working. And what's interesting is that I've also been reading a little bit about a modern and ancient philosophy, and basically that we as humans, we basically don't have the full control of life. And so I think it's also important for us to seek what really fulfills you as a creative person, or as a person in general, and basically try to understand the bigger meaning in life. And so this is I consider these are some of the benefits that I received during this work from home period that otherwise I might not have. So of course, working from home is a bit different than running a business as usual. Personally, my studio is located in my house as well, so I don't really experience drastic changes, but then the way we work has to be changed, and this has to be changed quite drastically. So so the way we manage our projects and the way we manage our team now, it's fully we do it online, basically. And this also makes us learn on how to be more lean and agile, as well as a business, basically, because we also need to anticipate the impacts of the economy. That's one thing. But at the same time, on how to manage our team members, how to manage productivity, and how to basically still deliver without, let's say, not having a physical meeting. This has been one of my biggest challenges, but I'm very thankful that the fact that our team has been quite vigilant and very disciplined in terms of working, and so far we don't really have any big issues. The other thing that we really need to focus is that what sort of work and values that we need to deliver in the future. The world is going to change, whether it's going to change drastically or a lot, but definitely this pandemic is going to give quite of an impact on how people do business. And for us as a design studio, we work with commercial clients and individual owners as well. We need to really study, observe, and understand what sort of changes that's going to happen and how we can actually work towards that. Moving forward, I mean, home now has become, a very important thing for all of us, because now we have to stay at home. We don't have any other options, basically. We cannot run away from this place we call home, basically. So So this space now has become a multifunction space that has to cater for all our needs, our personal needs, our business needs. And so having a well-designed home office can definitely, you know, improve your productivity. This is a picture of my my home office. This is inside my my room. I've listed down several things that I think is very important to have a healthy and quite of a productive working space. One is definitely natural daylight. It's very important to always have a bit of daylight. It's good that it gives you a bit of vitamin D, and people say it's good to fight against the virus. But at the same time, it also gives you a good sense of time, whether you're whether you're starting up in the morning or you're finishing up in the afternoon. And 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 it's also good that you bring in a productive spirit. It's very easy for you to basically just open your eyes and put your laptop on your lap while still lounging in the bed. But I would suggest to actually you really get up and you change your clothes or dress up for work. So this will put you in a mindset of working instead of lounging and having to do work, basically. Invest in good furniture is also very important. I set my table high so I can actually work while standing, because it burns a little bit more calorie. It makes you focus more, so you don't get too sleepy and you don't slouch. And you can do a variety of tasks. I mean, whether it's typing, sketching, different kinds of things. It's more flexible for me. And if I do get tired, I can always sit on the lounge chair and other chairs that I have in the room. And having plants is also very important, because there's a lot of us that lives in small apartments, and certain types of plants really allows. I mean, plants are basically the natural air filter that we have in our planet. So it's always good to have these type of plants to filter certain types of chemicals, such as formaldehyde, etc., etc. So, so I just want to share a little bit of the work setup that I have in my room. I do put several plants next to the window, basically, so it also gives more green towards the eyes, basically, in a way. I have several lounge chairs that I have that I can actually use if I want to do some reading, or if I need to work on my iPad or something. At the same time, I do want to share a little bit of the type of residential project that we've been designing in the past or recently that really combines a multifunctional type of living space. So this is an apartment we designed in collaboration with Vivere and Cotton Ink. And so this is located in a 2-bedroom apartment in central Jakarta. And the space was quite limited, so we have to make do with the tight space, and we come up with an idea on how to integrate between dining, working, and living space all into one. I think colors plays a very important factor as well. So we want to make use light color spaces to light colors, basically, to extend the space, as well as decorating wall surfaces to give a personal touch into the space. And this is also like another residential project that that focuses on creating an introverted perspective within the space. So the house is actually nestled on top of a public tennis court, basically. So it's located on the second floor, and it's accessed through a private entrance. But the whole idea was also to create a very multifunctional space where the users can actually cook, eat, or do work all in the same place. And this type of layout and arrangement, I see now it's very relevant when people are forced to stay or forced to spend more time at their houses. This is also another project where we had to work on a 25 or 26 or 25 square meters apartment. So everything is very integrated and everything is very compact in a way, to the bare minimum. As you can see in the middle picture, the kitchen dining is integrated into one, while the desk, the working desk, is integrated into the wardrobe. So these type of ideas, maybe can give you some ideas on how to rearrange or, let's say, modify your homes during this working from home period. So let me move into this into the next session, where I would like to introduce the collection that I have in collaboration with MosaicArt. I was very intrigued and interested to collaborate with MosaicArt, where I always feel that art has a very strong sensorial impact towards the spaces that we live. And I was also inspired by the story where people has always been telling their stories on their wall since prehistoric times. So I think that is a very interesting story where we can actually reinterpret it, and then we can apply it on our modern homes. So we have several designs that I would like to share today. The first one is called Dua, which means two in Indonesia, in Indonesian language. The whole idea is basically to create a very basic and very simple module, a wedge module that has two different colors. So depending on where you're looking from, this this tile, when it's applied to the wall, it can give two different kinds of colors, or two different kinds of perspectives, or two different kinds of feelings. So we can definitely play with colors, or we can also play with textures, and we can rearrange on a horizontal manner or vertical manner. But the idea is basically like that. So this is an idea. This is still a rendering because we're still on a very early stage of finishing all the samples and everything. But this gives you an idea on how a very basic shape can create very different feelings. And we can also play around with different kinds of colors. So the idea is that when it's colored completely in the same color, the tile gives a very angular and very repetitive type of pattern, which can actually make the space feel, modern. But at the same time, it can have this sense of surprise, or this sense of a small surprise element where you look from different angles, basically, as it gives different colors or different visual impressions. The second one is called line. This is a very simple and basic modern exploration from a basic rectangular shape. So the whole idea is to extrude just a section of a square and to divide it into singular modules. So these modules can form squares, patterns, lines. It's very versatile, basically. And and we give color basically on the thickness of the extrusion, so it doesn't really feel very obvious. People can only see the colors or the details from a certain type of angle, but this allows for a very wide and very versatile type of applications. So the whole idea is to make these styles as a complementary element inside an interior space. People can actually create visual structure or visual order within the space. People can disrupt the whole order, you know. And if it's composed very neatly or very abstractly, people can actually also use this as a type of artwork for their homes. So it's very very versatile. The last one is this one we call arang. This was basically a modern interpretation of a traditional batik pattern, parang. We basically deconstruct and dissect the pattern and made it into a modular segment where people can play around with the modules. I always like to represent or to always include a bit of cultural element into our work, and so we can always be reminded about our cultural tradition heritage without looking very traditional. So the idea is basically to simplify the modules and then to allow the module to be reconfigured into several different kinds of configurations. So there is a flexibility in how people can actually apply in this spaces. So yeah, overall, that's about it. Thank you for your participation. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. I'll hand it over back to Bu Ruby.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alvin, for a very insightful sharing. And I'm also very happy to receive several questions from the participants. Alvin, are you ready to answer the questions? Okay.
Yep.
Hi, Paul. I have a question. As you mentioned before, I also believe that what happened in this period of time will change our work culture and environment for good. If that's so, what is your strategy to cope with the situation, which means after the pandemic is over? And how can we prepare ourselves to what's to come? Okay.
So yeah, very good question. I think there's definitely going to be a few changes in our working culture in general. I think people will definitely would like to work more effectively. People would really appreciate a technology that can make our working process more effective or more efficient. I think at the same time, people can really appreciate the fact that we have blue skies for the past 1 month in Jakarta, and I do hope that from certain type of industries or even the government can actually appreciate that, and maybe they can create certain types of policies or encourage people on how to still maintain our economy, but at the same time protecting our environment. I think there's also a bigger awareness towards hygiene, sense of hygiene. So I think people or industries would love to explore or would be interested on exploring to develop either new type of businesses or new types of products that can be, let's say, easier to clean, it's more hygienic, or even allow people to, let's say, bring their own cutleries to restaurants or something. I think that is something that I would also like to see, that can actually give a very positive impact towards the environment. And the next question.
Okay, next question is from Orlando. Hello, Alvin. How are you? Hope you're well. In the design perspective, what do you think about the role of a designer or an architect that actually can help and contribute in this moment or nearly in the future regarding of the COVID-19 outbreaks? Can you give us sort of examples? How do you perceive inequality during this moment and the needs of healthy cities? And also, is there a danger of thinking about WFH in the future of working space?
Hi, Orlando. Okay, I think there's several questions in this one question. I think definitely designers and architects can play a very important role, because we are, let's say, problem solvers. We definitely have to really think on what sort of solutions we can give to the society. I think the way cities are planned, it needs to be, improved in a way. I think there's a lot of things that nature itself can give, let's say, a sense of solution in how people are basically being managed or governed within a city. For instance, if, let's say, we're talking about Jakarta as our own, let's say, local context, we definitely need more open spaces. I think a lot of enclosed spaces can play, let's say, a very, well, in this case, a very dangerous when everything is basically confined. And a lot of we also need a lot of green spaces, because nature, trees, plants, and everything is a natural air filtration system. So this can, if this is, let's say, properly laid out and it's properly, let's say, placed within the city, it can give a city, let's say, a higher level of healthiness in a way, basically. At the same time, I think the way, let's say, public facilities can be designed in, let's say, in a very hygienic manner. I mean, the way our public facilities, it's definitely still far from perfect. The way the signages is being designed, that can actually improve, when people are, let's say, panicked, or when they need to escape this, when they need to escape a certain type of space, or when they need to travel from point A to point B in the most effective manner. So I think there's a lot of things that can be improved. Also, there's other types of ideas, I think, and this is definitely the right time for architects and designers to exercise their sense of imagination. If a food market, the one that we already have at the moment, is not very hygiene to a certain level, that this virus actually started from a wet market, how would we redesign it? How would we redesign the irrigation system in a city, let's say? Or how would we redesign a supermarket? Or how would we redesign food banks, let's say, or places where we can actually store food, or places where we can store or basically even farms, etc. I think there's still a lot of things that we can improve, and I think this crisis gives us a bit of a wake-up call into self-analyzing our own cities and our own public facilities. Yeah, I hope that answers you.
Okay, so next questions come from anonymous attendees. Mm-hmm. What is the key to time management when working from home?
Well, my studio starts 9 until 6. I think it's very important to keep a consistent time so people know when they start and when they finish. And at the same time, it's always important to recap, or let's say regroup, on what are the things that we need to achieve. And so we can backtrack, or we can plan or strategize our own personal time management or schedules, let's say. It's very important to do that at the start of the day, so we know more or less what we can achieve by the end of the day or by the end of the week. I also use an online project management system. In this case, we can discuss and we can set a timeline, and we can put updates basically on the software where everyone can see, or people who are related to the projects. So this is also very important, and of course video calls. So whenever there's a need for discussions or thorough questions and everything, we can always do that. There's different kinds of project management softwares like Moxtra, Asana, Slack. Different kinds of these softwares have slightly different features. It's always good to understand what you really need basically on your type of business, and give it a try. Yep. Any other ones?
Next questions come from Nadia Primasanti. Hello, Mas Alvin. How do you manage to supervise the project by not visiting the site or factory?
This is the biggest challenge. Because if we're working on an interior project, for instance, there are certain things that we need to inspect in regards of spatial experience. Some people, when, let's say, I've worked with different kinds of contractors, some are quite savvy in using technology, so they can give precise, let's say, photos or videos of the space or certain type of details that we need to check, and then we can coordinate with them over the phone or on video calls, etc. While others are a bit behind. So I'm at the same time I'm also waiting for the next level of technology where we can, maybe virtual reality, maybe, so where we can actually experience the whole space virtually and communicate that to the people working on site. So yeah, so this is quite of a challenge, but so far it's not impossible to do. Okay, next one or two.
Okay, maybe another two. Okay, this is very interesting questions, Alvin. Hi, Alvin. After this pandemic is over, how can we step up the business so we can achieve our target?
I mean, realistically, I think it's going to be very difficult to achieve our target for this year, meaning like a usual annual business target, because this pandemic has caused the whole economy to slow down, our businesses to slow down, not just by 1 month, but by more than, let's say, I don't know, 2 or 3 months or something. So I think we definitely need to really re-strategize on what do we want to achieve. What is the core target for, let's say, end of this year? I think the most important thing that we need to really think about is how to strategize for our comeback. The economy is going to recover. I don't know when exactly. People will start to go out from their homes and start to consume, go to restaurants and do business. I think for us, we really need to we really need to think smartly on what sort of values that will be relevant to the market after this is over. I think it's also very important to communicate the relevant values or the relevant, let's say, values basically that we can deliver to our customers. Because in the end, this pandemic can be considered as a natural selection. Some businesses will survive, some businesses won't. But of course, the one who can actually adapt smartly will definitely survive, and they will probably the one who will win over the customers from the other businesses that won't survive. So I think now it's very, very, very crucial for us to be very smart on what exactly we want to, or how do we want to strategize. And of course, different businesses have different kinds of strategies. So yeah, but I think that is also, that will be also my main focus. Okay, last question.
One last question comes from Beta Suwarso. Hello, Pak Alvin. With the current state of Indonesian design industry, do you think this pandemic would push innovation in terms of designs? For example, being more considerate of sustainability, cultural awareness, social economy, and etc.
I really hope so. I think design in Indonesia in general has been underutilized in a way. We have a lot of talents, and design should be considered as a process to solve problems. So it's not just decoration. I mean, I'm not speaking about an aesthetic perspective. I'm speaking more about our mindset as designers. So I think definitely the whole government or the whole country can make good use of, let's say, good design. From anything from how the agriculture industry is running until, let's say, transportation, to furniture, to interior and decoration, architecture, or even city planning, everything needs design. And when, let's say when a city runs super smoothly, usually good design people don't really notice. But when things run badly, then you notice when something is very poorly designed. I think Indonesia or Jakarta, for instance, is one of the sources of these chaotic way of trying to control and patch on problems, where I think good designers should be employed and to be put into work on trying to solve these problems. And design is not just, like what I said before, design is not just about aesthetics. I mean, if we have a problem with our education system, maybe we need to redesign the whole curriculum. You know, if we have a problem with water management, we need to redesign the water system. And this is not just designers. I mean, you know, this includes architects, graphic designers, fashion designers, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean, you know, and all of these things has to consider the environmental impacts. Although this type of virus came from a wet market that also happens to be selling wildlife, which basically related more towards probably a political regulation. But a properly designed wet market should be at least more hygienic or safe rather than a poorly designed wet market. And there are so many other things. So I think the way we should use design is basically into our way of thinking, not on an aesthetical manner. So when we see a problem, we use creativity to solve your problem, basically. That's part of the design process. And I think that's what all designers should focus on, instead of just making things look pretty. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that as well, but maybe we can go a step further. Okay.
Okay. Well, there are still some other more questions, but I'm afraid that we are running out of time. So I think we come to the end of this webinar. Thank you very much, Alvin, for all the answers. And also I would like to say thank you for all the participants for all your participation. For those questions who is not being answered today, Alvin is going to give your answer and respond through your emails. And we also going to send you the presentation file on today's webinar through your emails. And if you want to know more about MosaicArt collection, our signature collection, you can just follow our Instagram, MosaicArt, and also can visit our website. And if you need to watch the recorded version of today's webinar, you can also log in on our YouTube channel. For next episode, we're going to have 2 guest speakers that is known as a duo in this industry. They are Humphrey Teja and Santi Alesius from Domicilium and the MDO Studio. So don't miss it. Stay tuned and see you next time. Bye-bye.